So you're scrolling. Oh, I know. How did you find me? You were scrolling and you came across this. Thanks, hi, and welcome. And a reel stops you cold, right? Like you're going along and you're like, oh, that right there. Something in your chest just stops and you go, oh my gosh, that might be me, right? It happens to me from time to time. I hear it all the time from clients. Oh my gosh, could this be me? And we get on these segue conversations all about what they've identified or recognized might be part of their trait sequence. Maybe we haven't talked about it yet, or it just hasn't come up, but it's one of the better parts of social media that I'm finding, is that further education about traits, the ability to laugh about it, to connect with other people about it, huge bonus. I really enjoy it. This is part 3. So this is a 3-part series. We end at this one, but this is part 3 about the conversation we're having about naming. So that scrolling thing where you go, oh my gosh, that's the aha moment. That's where something that was in your blind spot, you might have had an awareness, but it didn't have a name. And all of a sudden somebody it's a thing. And oh my gosh, that's how I felt when I heard about time blindness. And I researched it and I was like, oh my gosh, I got this thing for sure. Then after the aha and after the data research comes the most important part, which is ownership and action. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I've been talking about action in part 2, knowing that action quite often can be clumsy and frustrating, and often we try something once and we make up a story that becomes a truth, which becomes a thing that stops us, that we are like, oh, I didn't really like that, so I'm not going to do that again. That is so not the gamified way of living life and doing things. That's what I've really learned by hanging out with all of these gamification experts. That's not failure. That first attempt that feels clunky, that's just data. That's just, this kind of felt clunky. Next time I need to do it like this. What am I going to change? What little thing should I tweak and see if it doesn't feel clunky? And what happens when you come from that kind of framework and that thought process, it stops things that need, or you choose to shift, not need to shift per se, might be healthy for your life, but that you want to shift, that you're able to see as data and as process and as shift. You get to keep the excitement in the learning. You get to keep the engagement to the point that it becomes boring and routine and just a part of who you are and how you do things. And that's the value of the aha moment. That's the value of doom scrolling, is when you can take something from oh my gosh, I think this is me, to, you know what? Yeah, I definitely have some time blindness. That kind of gets all over people. Oh wait, that also gets all over me. That's cost me some jobs. That's cost me some relationships. I maybe don't love that. How could I possibly shift that now that I know, now that it's not in a blind spot and out of my view, it's in my view, which means I can possibly do some things about it. I'm not going to not have time blindness. That's in my DNA. Gonna probably have that all my life. I can put training wheels on it, though. I can adjust and maneuver my life a little differently now that that's not in my blind spot and now that I'm aware of it. And that's exactly what I've done. And those are the types of conversations that I think are so important in taking something out of that aha and putting it into, okay, I learned a bunch of things, and now what am I going to do? Because there's a trap that happens, and I watch people fall into it where they have the aha moment, and then this one I find really interesting. They go around telling people, they're like, oh my gosh, this would be an example, oh my gosh, I have time blindness, and not inviting other people to talk about how that might have played out for them. Like, I have a really good friend who for her, being early is on time. So when we have meetings and I'm consistently 5 to 10 minutes late, she took that personally, and it was hard and challenging. And when we finally had the opportunity to talk about it, she was able to tell me that's how it was experienced. And I recognized and was able to own that was never my intention. I I'm sorry it's coming across that way. It's not personal. Please allow me to continue to work on that. And I do. I continue to work on that. Do I win most of the time? No. Actually, if she's watching this, she knows. I don't win most of the time. I do win every once in a while, and that feels really good. And I hang on to that win, and next time I work on doing it better. But I don't fall all over myself when I get there. Oh my God. I don't make up excuses for why it's... No, I just own it. Yeah, my genetics got in the way on this one. And that means they got on you. Sorry about that. And she gets it now. Conversations, communication, when you pull things out of those blind spots, we can do that. We can have those conversations. Ownership also doesn't have to look like, this is all my fault. Oh my gosh, that happened and I have time blindness and it's all my fault. It's not all my fault most of the time. But if there's a spelling error in an email, yeah, that's my fault. I was the one sending out that email. That's my ownership. And when you get more comfortable with the things you cannot change, I can work really hard. I can use all the software, all the tools. Most of my emails still go out with a typo and some grammar issues. I don't love that. I'm also not going to stop everything I'm doing to put 2 hours into sending out an email to most people. That's not realistic. So if you're going to hang in my sphere and hang out with me, you're going to get emails with typos. And that's not intentional. And I'm aware that's what's happening. And if we need to talk about it, absolutely. I'm all for having conversations. But I also know there's not much more I can do to not make that happen that doesn't completely derail a whole bunch of other parts of my life. And I'm not willing to sacrifice all that just so that something's spelled properly. That's just not how it is. In parts 1 and part 2, I talked about some of the time blindness. I also talked about a client that was working on understanding that they were a high verbal processor. And in meetings and so forth, they were consistently sitting there not listening to people and just waiting for their chance to talk so they could process. And we were creating new systems for them to be more present in the meetings, to hear the other data people were adding, and to have their ideas still there, but now expanding. And they're working on that. Again, not a try, fail. They are trying, learning, adjusting. It's becoming easier and easier. In my article, I share a story about my husband and I because it's a safe story that I can share. And how he's very literal, and I often in my communication can be very literal. So the two of us attempting to cook at times can be humorous beyond words. I'm very visual. So I'm going to point at something and say, it's in that cabinet. He's going to be like, okay, exactly where? Is it on the left side, the right side? Is it in the middle? What does it, what exactly am I looking for? It's not going to jump out at him because I'm so spatially aware. I remember exactly where it is, what shelf, location, all of that. So we've learned, once I understood that, I actually read an article about ADHD in couples and realized, for me in particular, that I was coming to these conversations hearing him very literally and vice versa, and so we were struggling, and I was enjoying blaming him for that because it was in my blind spot. And once I read that article, I was like, oh, I have a role in this. I could communicate better. It would actually make me a better leader. I would like to practice. And so we had some conversations about it, and now we actually enjoy cooking. And those little slip-ups that happen in our literalness, we laugh about. We're like, oh, I really thought you meant this. No, I meant that. And we're like, okay, that's how we wound up there. Got it. Easy to fix. Not a big deal. We had to work at it for a while. I can tell you it's been 2 years of working on it, and now it's just habit. That's the ownership aspect of it. It's so freeing. That's why I'm inviting you and enrolling you in it. It is so freeing when you're like, oh, that's mine. What I really want to encourage for you is that as you're doom scrolling, as you're having aha moments, there are 5 quick and easy questions I want you to ask after you have that aha moment. And they're really simple. what exactly was that? Like, why did that hit you? Why did you go, oh, I think that's me? What's the deeper part of that? And then the next question to ask is, where can I go find some reliable data to actually investigate this a little bit more and understand it better? And it's good data, not the junk data, the good data. What's the value in knowing more about this? Possibly you might look at it and say, this isn't really interfering with my life a lot. This isn't really enhancing my life. I just need to stop beating myself up about it. So there's the win. I understand that now. I'm good to go. Or it might be, wow, like with time blindness, I want to understand that. I want to understand to the point of, genetically, where is that? How did they find that? What can I do about it? What do they understand about that? I went deep and then, extracted myself from that and said, okay, now I got to own some parts of this. Number 4 actually is, how is this improving my life? We talked about it. And how is it impeding my life? That's a 2-column type of thing that helps you in your ownership and understanding how much time and energy should you put into this. And by the way, impeding your life is when it's getting all over other people and harming them. That's when those conversations need to be had. And then number 5, my favorite, part 3, that's what this is about, is what actions am I going to take now that I know this? Pick one, make it small, make it specific. Thank you for hanging out with me this long. Don't make it too big, don't make it vague. Small, specific, use timers. Every day, just work at it, right? What's failing about this? What's not going well? Use your data. And that is personal growth and development. That is where you change your life and change your world in big ways. And that's what I want for you so much. That's why you're here. That's why you're hanging out. You're like, wow, I'm a different thinker. I'm a bit unconventional. What do I do with this some of the time? Well, stop blaming yourself and start growing yourself is what I'm going to tell you. I'm JoyGenea, unconventional leadership coach, international neurodiversity coach, and a champion for you having the most amazing life possible. Bye now.